It is seeing somehow the British Empire as a thing to be ashamed of. Whereas, of course, the British Empire is unique in the world in having given birth to free states, to Australia, to Canada, to New Zealand, to South Africa, flawed though it is, to India, even Israel fought over Palestine. The essential structures are the structures of common law to America, to the United States at an earlier point. This is something that seems to me to be an object of supreme pride. What other
Yes.
empire has distributed freedom?
I think the one thing we can all agree on the right of British politics is that the UK is in trouble. Deep, deep trouble. And I don't want to get too negative, given it is the 27th of December, given that we should all be stuffing our face with Christmas leftovers. But I wanted to give you a little bit of hope in the form of David Starkey, who believes that Britain is different because Tony Blair changed it, but he does have a prescription of how it can be saved. And part of that is starting to embrace our history. We should be proud of the British Empire, and I think this is an uplifting message.
The problem is Britain is different. We are three or four separate
Mm.
nations. And traditionally, the monarchy was the unifying bond. You didn't have citizenship. You swore allegiance to the crown. You still do, in theory. But Blair, in particular, tries to invent a new thing called British nationality. Now, but the problem is we never had a thing called British nationality. So you then had to invent this thing, which is really just a flag of convenience. What are, right, Dan, I'm giving you a test.
Okay.
What are British values?
Compared to English
No,
values.
no, no, no. What are British values? Come on, you should have it absolutely. You're failing it completely. Go to the bottom of the class. There are only two British values. They are
Democracy.
no. Oh, what? Disgraceful, prejudiced. I mean, you're totally prejudiced.
What? Tell me.
Right? They are two. They are two. They are tolerance. We
Yes.
believe in being tolerant,
Okay.
don't we? Come on, get the next one.
God, I don't know.
I'm going to leave you to find out. In other words,
Okay.
what they did, they came up with this extraordinary
Yeah.
definition of nationhood in which there is actually no content at all. You can swear to British values, and they have absolutely no meaning. We believe in tolerance and diversity. That's what we believe in. We don't believe, in other words, what
Okay.
we
Yes. I
believe
see
in
what you
is
mean. Yeah.
nothing.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
is the disaster. Um, uh, we, as I said, the thing because England and Scotland, in particular, but Wales, Ireland too, had very separate
Mhm.
political cultures. Were very similar nations, but were separate and had distinctive features. It was that overarching allegiance to the monarchy that was. I mean, you look in your passport. It's framed like that. And until very recently, you were a British subject. You then have to reinvent this into with all the problem of do people like you who were subjects of the crown, yes, but with the separate identity of New Zealand, Canada, and all the rest of it. When particularly we enter the common market, there has to be this redefinition. And what Labour did, it took particularly Gordon Brown, it took the opportunity to come up with this pseudo nationhood. We never used to call ourselves Britons. Britons are naked and daubed in blue paint, and woad. And so we've had to. Nobody ever called themselves a Brit. That was the language that Fenian Republicans and aggressive Americans used to use to denounce us. There've been the most interesting linguistic shifts, but again, one of the fundamental aspects of them is they've moved the monarchy to the margins of our national life. And there's this enormous hole that's left by this. There's a hole that's left in our national life, and there's an enormous hole that's left in the monarchy. You now have this huge post-imperial institution that magnificent jewels and whatever, and a crown, which, I mean, to go back to the Wars of the Roses and that wonderful editing of Shakespeare's plays by the Royal Shakespeare Company back in the 1970s, we have hollow crown. We have a hollow nation and we have a hollow crown. There's a vacuum at the heart of both of them.
Well, and there's just this chipping away. I mean, you're obviously a CBE. Front page of the Mail on Sunday at the weekend, radical reforms being considered by royal officials could see the word empire dropped from British honours. And what seems extraordinary about this story is that it appears to be being pushed much more by the palace than the government.
Yes, I mean, and again, you see, it's also the thing that strikes me, Dan, is ignorance. It's not simply insensitivity. It's not simply foolishness. It's not simply rashness. It's sheer, absolute ignorance. Can we discuss what the order of the British Empire was? Why it was created? It was created in 1917 at the height of the First World War to reward those who had fought in war and those who had organized war on the domestic front. It's unique because all the previous orders of chivalry, the Garter, and we were talking about different nations. There were the different orders in each one of the different countries. In England, there was the Garter, the Bath, and the Michael and the George. In Scotland, you had in Ireland, you had the Patrick, and in Scotland, the Order of St. Patrick, and in Ireland, you have the Order of the Thistle. But they all had tiny, tiny numbers. They were intended, the Garter's only 24. They were only intended for an elite. What the CBE was, what the Order of the British Empire was, a genuine mass order. It was a direct consequence of democracy. It's the equivalent of the Légion d'honneur in France. And do you know where, again, just to give you an idea, do you know where the first investiture of the Order of the British Empire takes place?
No.
Ibrox Park Football Stadium. With the king, not with the queen, with the king in khaki, with this vast tens of thousands of people present, with the two stars of the show were VC, actually brought in on a stretcher, so badly injured, and a little girl who'd been working in the munitions factories in Glasgow, and she received the British Empire Medal. And the British Empire has to be pinned, I think it is on the left breast of the woman, and the king was observed to play a great deal of time pinning this medal on the very attractive left breast of this little girl who was wearing her coat overalls, her munition workers' overalls. And if you remember, Edwardian dress, you had a very, very tight belt. And so there was this impressive structure, which clearly caught the attention of the Sailor King. But it was an extraordinary, can you imagine, it's an extraordinary act of democracy, of a kind of democratic order of chivalry. And this is the thing that they are rubbishing. That they are treating again with it's this terrible business of the elevation of words. It is seeing somehow the British Empire as a thing to be ashamed of. Whereas, of course, the British Empire is unique in the world in having given birth to free states, to Australia, to Canada, to New Zealand, to South Africa, flawed though it is, to India, even Israel fought over Palestine. The essential structures are the structures of common law, to America, to the United States at an earlier point. This is something that seems to me to be an object of supreme pride. What other empire has distributed freedom?
Yes,
but so again, it is this cringe that has been adopted by our public institutions and by the monarchy. So if the monarchy cringes, what is left? If the very head of our structure bows itself, kneels down in front of this, and it is what I fear, Dan, is, of course, that this opens the gates to republicanism.
Yes.
And again, it is the profound folly of those who are advising the monarchy. You cannot win. Making gestures towards the Guardian reading classes will not make the Guardian reading classes love you. This was the supreme folly of the Conservative Party under Cameron, under Osborne, under Gove. Making these noises don't make the opposition love you. They still hate you. As we've seen, it doesn't matter if you elect a black woman, who, by the way, is a first-generation immigrant, something in America I think is illegal. Actually, well, she was sort of born here, wasn't she? But in America, remember, even in America, the land of immigration, there is the rule: you have to be at least second generation to be elected as president. You have to be born on American soil to be elected as president. But if we're having this constant cultural cringe, we're lost. But there's no point to it, as I said, that you don't gain anything from it. The Conservative Party has won no plaudits on the left for having a black
Nope.
leader. And again, this folly that was advanced by certain conservative so-called thinkers, that somehow Kemi Badenoch would be insured against an attack from the left because she was black. Of course, we saw Dawn Butler. We had a whole section of the program on it before. So you're engaged.
Yes.
You're engaged in a task of simple folly by compromise and backing down.
But first, we've partnered with Gundry MD to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yep, it's true. And it's not some weird, trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. You've probably used it for cooking, but there are countless ways to use olive oil to help yourself look and feel younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible. Whether it's taking a shot of it daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cabinet. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health, I hear you ask? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits. But if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. And the olive oil industry is really huge. You can tell, you will have seen in the supermarkets, so many brands. And you can bet they're not all made with the consumer in mind. And many brands may even cut corners one way or another to increase profits. So when Dr. Gundry came to that realization, he was rightly appalled. But some olive oils are so powerful, it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So, how can you tell between an olive oil that can be a health booster and one which isn't up to par? In an effort to answer that question for us, Dr. Gundry has decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. This video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it so you can start benefiting immediately. So you can watch the video right now by heading to getolive1.com/outspoken, or you can just click on the link in the description box below. I'll repeat it for you though. That's getolive1.com/outspoken, or just click on the link in the description box below. People who have taken his advice have shared their results with him, saying the olive oil they bought after learning his simple rules have helped change their life for the better. So make sure you go to getolive1.com/outspoken or click on the link in the description box below this video. But now, back to the show. So it sounds to me, and just to wrap this up, so you don't feel like the traditions of the royal family are safe in the hands of William and Catherine.
Oh, and now we haven't mentioned Catherine.
Okay, William.
I think Catherine shows, like so many, I mean, the House of Windsor largely depended on women.
Yeah.
Let's be absolutely clear about this. That the good sense of Queen, I mean, actually, George V is very impressive. But if you actually look at the role of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, the Queen Mary, and I think Kate, these are sensible, level-headed, forceful women. And they have as so often is the case, you're a case. There's a certain sort of immigrant, and these are immigrants into the royal family, that take you're an immigrant here, that take what they've immigrated into more seriously than most of the natives do, because it's a voluntary relationship. And it seems to me that Catherine shows a complete understanding of what the role should be. She is taking up, utterly uncontroversial things like mental health, ever, and that is deeply sensible.
So she's
In the
arguably
same
doing a
way,
better job
you
than William.
look at Queen Camilla,
Yeah.
reading domestic
Yeah.
violence. These are entirely sensible and proper things. They don't have the flavor of climate change. They don't have the political flavor of homelessness. They are not. They apply to all classes and all races. So I mean, I see in somebody like Kate a vastly surer touch. Unfortunately, of course, she is ill.
Yes.
We hope she is recovering. And again, let me be quite clear about King Charles. I have enormous sympathy for him. Not simply because of the cancer and whatever. He is a man who is, I think, genuinely well-intentioned. But we all know what good intentions can do, and that they pave the road to, I'm afraid, the road to hell. And my real criticism, and it is the striking thing, again, it goes back to the reign of Elizabeth II, has been the general weakness of the private secretaries and the failure ever to have a really long-serving private secretary. If you look back at the transformation of the monarchy in the from the 1830s onwards, in other words, from William IV right through Victoria and up to George V, you've got a handful. It's a tiny number. It's Ponsonby, it's Knight, it's Stamfordham, and whatever. A tiny number of Knowles, a handful of immensely able, very long-serving private secretaries who act as not simply as a kind of defense of the monarchy, but as a genuine fund of ideas. There's also something else which is really important. If you look back at the monarchy surmounting the great crisis of the First World War and the revolutions which tore down all the other great imperial monarchies of Europe, the Austro-Hungary, Germany, Russia, and whatever. What's striking is the way the whole political class, ex-prime ministers and whatever, all rally round and take it seriously. The problem is that we've again got a political class, even on the conservative side, that doesn't particularly take it seriously.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.